Well, the House of Representatives voted Wednesday in favor of a bill banning TikTok, which is by far the most popular social media app among teenagers and Gen Z. Per the New York Times, 2/3 of American teenagers are on the app, and students say that TikTok is fun and helpful for users and lucrative for creators, and that a ban would violate their First Amendment rights. To talk more about this, we have Jessica Burbank, who's an influencer and also the Friday host of Rising. But before we bring her on, let's listen to this viral video she made on TikTok about the ban.
Hey, get off the phone. Why'd you tell her to do that? I'm the boss. She's at work. But what if it's an emergency or her family? I mean, nothing urgent's happening right now. She's just waiting for another shipment. I pay her to be here. Her time is mine right now. How much do you pay her? $7.25 an hour? Huh. How much product does she make in an hour? On average, 10. How much you make off of those 10? After input costs, probably $20. Sounds like she's paying you $12.75 an hour for you to tell her to stay off the phone. But I run the business. How'd you buy the business? Took out a loan from the bank? How do you make those loan payments? With the money made from selling products. Right, the products that the 2,000 workers make. Aren't you worried that they'll catch on? The bank's not gonna give them a loan. Why not? They're all in debt. Why is that? $7.25 an hour is not that much to live off of. But it sounds like you make plenty. Why not share? Because I took on the risk. If this business fails, I'd declare bankruptcy. Huh, and what about the workers? Well, I'd have to fire them.
Love that. It's so good to be with you, Jessica. Now, that video went viral in part because of a prompt that's been itself going viral on Twitter, where people are sharing their favorite Twitter video saying, what's that one video that justifies why TikTok should not be canceled? And yours was one of the ones that were being shared saying, hey, this is exactly the kind of content which explains why TikTok should not be canceled. As someone who is a real creator on TikTok, unlike the two of us who are a little too long on the tooth perhaps to be in that position, tell us what it's been feeling like on your end, especially in the last few months.
Yeah, it's definitely been feeling like an attack on free press and free information, especially as someone who makes political content on TikTok, like the video you saw. I mean, that's one of the videos that gets a ton of views on TikTok. Sometimes videos like that get picked up on Instagram Reels by the algorithm, but overwhelmingly it feels like TikTok is the one place where specifically lefty ideas are not suppressed. A lot of the apps, I think, in the United States are made so that it's a place where advertisers feel safe, right? The hosts want to make money. Meta wants to make money off of Reels. Of course, TikTok wants to make money, but it's not the same kind of structure where, you have everyone that's invested in TikTok also invested in every other major American corporation, whereas other apps might not want to have a video like that take off just because it's not an app that really promotes American capitalism and returns to shareholders. It's actually questioning the capitalist system. And TikTok has been a home for a lot of content like that. And I think it's not that TikTok's pushing this on Gen Z. I think Gen Z already leans to the left, is already way more progressive than previous generations. So it really feels like we're losing the platform where we can freely discuss political ideas and news.
Right. Although I would point out many of the people. I mean, I think it's people outside the mainstream, frankly, on both sides who are opposed to the banning right now. Obviously, in the vote yesterday, it was all the progressive, most left Democrats voted against the ban, and then also Matt Gaetz and Nancy Mace and Thomas Massie, et cetera, publicly opposing the ban are like Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson, and now even Donald Trump, even though he did try to ban it when he was actually president. It seems to me it's that contrarian or anti-establishment or outside the norm sort of people understand that TikTok has value, or a platform like TikTok has value, and that, frankly, giving the government the power to suppress TikTok is very much a classic slippery slope situation where, like, who would be next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a leftist, when we talk about censorship, I think back, I wasn't alive then, of course, but to like the 60s and the Cold War era and how much information was controlled then. And we saw that America wasn't really afraid to use these kinds of covert operations on their own citizens to ensure that the information they consume is in line with what the people running the country wanted at the time. And that was to quell any real kind of criticism of capitalism. And so, if you are a real leftist, you should be very skeptical of any kind of censorship laws, even censorship laws that have been attempted to be passed to quell some of the extremist ideas on the right, because they can be applied, to the left as well. And so I think anyone who's voting no on this, we've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene, we've seen Matt Gaetz, it is that kind of anti-establishment populist politician. We really haven't seen TikTok be as much of a platform for those older generations, which tend to be more conservative, but they have been a platform where far-right ideas have been posted and haven't been taken down. Whereas we have seen many other, mostly American-owned social media apps where the board of directors and everyone invested in the company was born in America and is in an American family. These folks running these apps are working with the American government. We've seen time and again to take down posts that are deemed threats to national security. We know that definition has been changed based on what's going on politically in the country. And that kind of runs contrary to our right to free speech and our right to free press.
I mean, a lot of people have been pointing out that Vox covered, I talked about this in my radar yesterday, that various people have been lobbying TikTok over the last few months, whether it's the ADL or certain prominent pro-Zionist actors like Amy Schumer or Sacha Baron Cohen, to address what they see as a bias, a pro-Palestinian bias on TikTok. I've heard you just say that you think that is just the organic, natural posture of most of the people on the app, especially given the age skew on the app. And I've also heard from certain content creators that they have felt some shifts on TikTok. They feel like they are starting to be suppressed. And I do wonder if you've experienced any of that, or what you make of the algorithmic trends as you've experienced them on TikTok, because it hasn't been completely free from some manipulation, right? Various words have been banned or prohibited, and that's why you see folks using a kind of a TikTok language as they write the word unalived, exactly, things like that. So what
was COVID? Was the Backstreet Boys reunion tour?
Is that what it was?
I think so.
That's pretty good. I mean, can you help us interpret what's been going on, perhaps in response to October 7th on the app?
Yeah, like people change IDF to IOF, Israeli Offense Forces, now because IDF started getting suppressed. We saw Israel just as a word, content criticizing Israel start getting suppressed. So instead it's just Israel, and all of these changes in what we're saying and the text on the screen, because initially we saw any Palestine content get carried in the same way a lot of viral news content gets carried on the app. And after about a month, and this was when we saw a lot of criticism from politicians who get a lot of money from AIPAC itself, about the amount of pro-Palestine content on TikTok, saying that this was Chinese propaganda. Even Nancy Pelosi was saying things like this. But really what it was is, if you look at the rest of the world and the way the UN member nations have been voting, we're the lone voting against a ceasefire. And when you look at the General Assembly, the overwhelming majority, over 90% of countries around the world, are critical of what Israel is doing, are saying that they want Israel to stop the offensive in Gaza. So to assume that it being a popular idea that Israel is overstepping and Israel should stop bombing Gaza and stop the ground campaign and stop pushing Palestinians out of their homes, that's some radical view that you would only have if you were pushed Chinese propaganda, it's just ridiculous when you look at those basic facts. But the reality is that TikTok wants to continue to operate. It is a company. It is a profitable company. People want to make money off of it, who are the executives there. And so if they say, hey, this is getting us under political fire, we could face an actual TikTok ban if we let this continue. We could have advertisers pull out, which I don't think they've seen in any meaningful response to the pro-Palestinian content on TikTok. I think they could very easily prove, if they had to, that they weren't pushing it and that it was organic. But I really think we're in a place now where we are seeing the TikTok ban get passed in the House because of the pro-Palestine content, even though I don't think TikTok was ever pushing it in the first place.
Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
That does it for us today on Rising. Tomorrow, Amisha Cross and Amber Duke will be taking care of you on Rising Friday, so tune into that.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. For those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Take care.
Bye-bye.